You're a really special group. This is a special day. NYU's first AI forum in a world that will be so different. And there's nobody that I can imagine that could do a better job helping us get started in navigating here than Marc Beckman. To me, AI, my analogy now is the Erie Canal. It fundamentally changed the economics, the lifestyle, and which cities matter. It made New York important. And I believe AI will have an even greater impact. A moment on Marc. I met Marc through the Conference of Mayors. He was the only person that could understand about the metaverse. He was their navigator, is their navigator. And part of it has to do with his background and how he chose to work with enterprises in a hands-on way, leading enterprises, not afraid of the unknown, and always learning. So let me introduce you to the greatest navigator I've ever met.
Thank you so much. That's crazy. That's very nice. Very nice words. I appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. I was going to tell you all a little bit about myself before I get into this, but I think Liz just really put it nicely. In addition to working at New York University as an adjunct professor and as a senior fellow for these emerging technologies, including the metaverse, I also own an advertising agency, and my clients range from Karl Lagerfeld and Sony Music to Nelson Mandela, Pepsi, and the NBA. So what we're doing is applying all of these technologies, including artificial intelligence, to real-world issues and impacting our clients and their consumers on a daily basis. What's interesting as it relates to everybody joining us today, I started thinking about what's important. A lot of this is in theory and some of it feels very far out. But the reality is that today artificial intelligence can impact your careers, your communities, and you as just an individual right now, today. And what I'm planning to do over the course of this week is bring in some of the leaders from various aspects of those three, let's call it the 3 C's, current use cases, communities, and careers, to show you how you can change your life, your client's life, do better at work, and beyond. So that's what I'm thinking about, and that's why we're here. I wanted to start with some doomsday AI quotes because I think it's really fun, right? So many of us are hearing about how AI is going to destroy the world. But do we realize some of the biggest leaders in technology, science, and artificial intelligence are the ones that are actually saying this? Personally, I disagree with that. We're in control. But for the fun of it, to loosen up the room a little bit, listen to this Stephen Hawking quote. Hawking said this to the BBC. "The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. It would take off on its own and redesign itself at an ever-increasing rate. Humans, who are limited by slow biological evolution, couldn't compete and would be superseded." It's horrific, right? It gets worse. Here's Nick Bilton from the New York Times. "The upheavals of AI can escalate quickly and become scarier and even cataclysmic. Imagine how a medical robot originally programmed to rid cancer could conclude that the best way to obliterate cancer is to exterminate humans who are genetically prone to the disease." Pretty wild, right? Pretty amazing. Everyone's familiar with Elon Musk and all the work he's doing. I don't know how familiar you are with how he's using artificial intelligence right now, not just for Tesla, I see you guys nodding, but also for robots, which we'll get into in a little bit. But he warned us at MIT's Aero Astro Centennial Symposium, I'm increasingly inclined to think that there should be some regulatory oversight, maybe at the national and international level, just to make sure that we don't do something very foolish. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we're summoning the demon. That's Elon Musk, right? And we know that he is one of the financiers of OpenAI, which is Sam Altman's platform, and he's running his own AI vertical too. He later said, AI doesn't have to be evil to destroy humanity. If AI has a goal and humanity just happens to come in the way, it will destroy humanity as a matter of course without even thinking about it. No hard feelings. Elon Musk, right? Our fearless leader. And then, of course, Sam Altman, who I think is going to be one of the powerhouses in technology for years to come. He's the founder of OpenAI, which includes ChatGPT, as well as several other verticals that he's building. Sam recently stated, AI will probably most likely lead to the end of the world. But in the meantime, there'll be great companies, which I love, because obviously I'm coming from this place of we'll control AI. We are going to be able to leverage AI to advance society, advance your careers, and advance communities. But what could we do together as a group of intelligent, curious individuals? Liz mentioned in her introduction this concept of the New York University Artificial Intelligence Forum. What I'm hoping you can do is think about our group as our collective as not just today as a standalone event, but the beginning of a community at New York University that's ongoing. So I put together a little mission statement. It's a little longer than I would do with the advertising community with my background, but it's something for you to think about as it relates to specifically why you're here today. The New York University Artificial Intelligence Forum stands as an unparalleled epicenter, attracting and uniting the most fervent AI enthusiasts and distinguished experts in the field. With an unwavering dedication to research, relentless pursuit of innovation, and fostering a culture of collaboration, this esteemed forum serves as a convergence point for exceptional individuals hailing from diverse backgrounds. Together, we embark on a transformative journey to unravel the frontiers of artificial intelligence, delving into the very essence of this cutting-edge technology. By cultivating a dynamic ecosystem that promotes the exchange of knowledge and facilitates networking opportunities, we will serve as a powerful catalyst for driving revolutionary advancements in the realm of artificial intelligence technology. The NYU AI Forum presents an exceptional opportunity for individuals of all levels of expertise, from seasoned professionals to curious beginners, to actively participate in a dynamic platform that fosters engagement with like-minded individuals and ensures that we here at NYU will remain at the forefront. So I want you to keep that in mind, not just as we go through this week's sessions with some incredible guests, but where we go after today, together, collectively. And you'll see, we're going to give you a lot of tools, including a Discord channel, including updated information, suggested readings, and other live events beyond today for us to all engage in. But artificial intelligence has already permeated your lives. In fact, it's become a central part of all of our daily lives, with billions of people around the world interacting with AI systems on a regular basis. From voice assistants like Siri and Alexa to recommendation algorithms on social media platforms and online shopping websites, AI has permeated various aspects of our digital experiences. AI has, according to Statista, over 4 billion active voice assistant users worldwide. Social media platforms heavily rely on AI algorithms to curate personalized content for their users. These algorithms analyze user behavior, preferences, and interactions to deliver tailored news feeds and recommendations. In fact, today, as many of you realize, there are over 5 billion monthly active social media users who are benefiting from AI-powered curated content. It's pretty powerful if you start to think about the implication. In the realm of e-commerce, AI plays a crucial role in enhancing the shopping experience. Recommendation systems powered by AI analyze user browser history, purchasing patterns, and demographic information to suggest products that align with individual preferences. This personalized approach not only improves customer satisfaction, but also drives sales for businesses. Amazon's recommendation engine is a prime example of this technology at work. And our buddy Jeff Bezos stated just recently, we're at the beginning of a golden age of AI. Recent advancements have already led to invention that previously lived in the realm of science, fiction, and we've only scratched the surface of what's possible. It's interesting to note from my perspective, again, the owner of an advertising agency, we just launched a vertical entitled Fashion AI. And what we're doing is we're studying specifically for fashion brands the consumer journey from before she knew that she wanted to purchase the product till after post-product acquisition. And our goal is to bring profit margin, to enhance profit margin for our customers. So, for example, e-commerce today averages about 22 to 35% in returns. Can you imagine? 22 to 35%. And what we're doing is attacking that number to bring back profit margin for our clients, just to limit returns through bracketing and other topics that you probably are very well aware of. Beyond consumer applications, industries such as healthcare, finance, transportation, and manufacturing are increasingly leveraging AI technologies to streamline processes and make data-driven decisions. In healthcare, AI is used for medical imaging analysis, drug discovery research, and patient monitoring systems. Financial institutions deploy AI for fraud detection, risk assessment, and trading. And self-driving cars rely on AI-powered sensors to navigate roads safely. It's fascinating. We're talking about Elon a lot. You guys in the front over here like Elon, I assume. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what Elon's been doing as it relates to AI and robots. Just by a show of hands, can anybody raise their hand if they're familiar with it? That's great, at least some people are. It's pretty incredible. What he's doing is creating an army of robots which are going to be affordable in communities because people will share the robot similar to the way you might rent a car. And I predict in probably less than 3 years, you'll be sitting in your living room using Apple's new spatial computing, maybe with your friends and your family, watching at center field of like a football game, like in your living room, and the doorbell will ring. And your electronic vehicle, Tesla, which is driven by AI, will come to your house with your robot, and your robot will come with the groceries that the robot has been programmed to collect for you. And the robot's going to be amazing because the robot's going to know not just what type of food you like and what kind of health concerns you have or dietary restrictions you might have, but furthermore, they're going to find the best pricing structures for you. And it's going to be shared with your neighbors. So after you're sitting at center field watching the football game in your living room through the use of Nerve technology, which Chris will share with you in a little while, your food will be placed in your refrigerator from your robot, and the robot will quietly leave and go to your neighbor's house. And this is just a few years away. This is going to happen before you know it. So it's going to really change the way the world works. It's actually an amazing time to be alive if you think about the power of AI in these ways. But we have to address the moral and ethical considerations surrounding the development, deployment, and use of these AI systems. So one of the key ethical concerns in AI is fairness. AI systems are trained on vast amounts of data, and if that data contains biases or reflects social inequalities, it can lead to biased outcomes. For example, facial recognition algorithms have been found to have higher error rates for certain racial and gender groups right now. Garbage in, garbage out. Remember that phrase, it's important. Transparency and explainability are also important ethical considerations in AI. As AI systems make decisions that affect individuals' lives, it is crucial to understand how these decisions are made. Black box algorithms that cannot be easily explained or understood raise concerns about accountability and the potential for unjust outcomes. Privacy is another significant ethical concern. With the vast amount of data collected and processed, there is a need to protect our privacy rights. Striking a balance between utilizing data for beneficial purposes while respecting one's privacy is a challenge that needs to be addressed through data protection measures. AI also raises questions about job displacement, as you guys are all concerned, and economic inequality. As automation technologies advance, there is a concern that certain jobs may become obsolete, leading to unemployment or underemployment for some individuals. Ensuring that the benefits of AI are distributed equitably across society is an ethical consideration that requires immediate attention. This may involve retraining programs or reskilling, job creation initiatives, and some even argue this is a concern that will kick up universal basic income policies. Just last week, the Harvard Business Review wrote, back in 2019, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development made a bold forecast. Listen to these numbers as it relates to reskilling employment. Within 15 to 20 years, it predicted new automation technologies were likely to eliminate 14% of the world's jobs and radically transform another 32%. Those numbers are huge. They were sobering numbers involving more than 1 billion people globally, and they didn't even factor in ChatGPT, right? Back then in 2019, nobody was thinking about all of these new generative AI models that are, coming at us right now. In fact, we'll have guests towards the latter part of the week that are creating, they're founders of generative AI models that are going to join us and talk about that. Furthermore, there are broader societal implications of AI ethics, including issues related to, and maybe this is some of those doom quotes, this is motivated by some of the doom quotes or vice versa, issues relating to autonomous weapons, social manipulation, interesting with the election season coming again, and the impact of human decision-making processes. These concerns highlight the need for robust governance frameworks, regulations, and public dialogue around the development and use of artificial intelligence. Addressing these ethical considerations requires collaboration among various stakeholders, including the public, private sector, and civil society. Mr. Clyde Vanel is a prominent figure in New York State politics. He's been serving as an assemblyman for the 33rd District since 2016. The 33rd District is located in Queens, so he's from New York City, which is great. The Hollis area, he and I gelled on that because there are some prolific hip-hop artists from that section of New York City. As a member of the Democrat Party, Vanel has been actively involved in advocating for various issues, including technology and innovation. In fact, Mr. Vanel serves as the chair of the subcommittee on Internet and Technology, as well as the chair of the Committee on Oversight, Analysis, and Investigations. Since elected, he has sponsored a number of artificial intelligence bills, including the Artificial Intelligence, Robotics, and Automation Commission, and the first U.S. bill researched and written by artificial intelligence. So it's my honor to introduce Assembly Member Clyde Vanel. Please give him a round of applause.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great, happy to be here.
Good, good. Thank you for coming on a Monday morning with a long weekend before us. I'm sure everybody's excited.
Before we get into this, first I have to really commend NYU and this program for providing this week-long program about artificial intelligence, where you're wrestling with these new technologies and making sure that we are not only informed about it, but we can control and these technologies moving forward. So, commend you guys for being here. So give yourselves a round of applause for this.
Thank you. So you just touched on it. I'm gonna go off my script for a second, which I like to do. You used the word control. And I know historically through some of our conversations, and I see you're in the media all the time now because of the bill you wrote with the help of artificial intelligence. What's your position, Clyde, as it relates to how we can control AI versus AI controlling us? All those doomsday quotes that I read to the audience and to you, do you believe them? Do you think that they're practical concerns?
So from where I sit, I'm a policymaker. So I'm a New York State Assembly member, and my job is to try to help create the environment for innovation, and also to recreate the environment so that New York State is a fair place for people to live, work, retire, to come here and stay. So we have to make sure we look out for our citizens. But I just sometimes think when we look at technology, government, at least from where I sit, we weren't set up, we're not optimized for how to regulate in futurism and what's happening next and what's coming up in the future. So, sometimes I have to close my eyes and think about, imagine I was the assembly person or the policymaker back prehistoric times. And the person that found fire, well, how would we regulate that? What would we do with that? How would we, fire can destroy, but it also helped extend, the ability of folks for daylight, for cooking, for eating. So, I think about that. I think about the industrial age and what it was like when vacuums were being built and how people reacted to that. I think about the state's relationship to technology, right? We used to have a position in New York State called toll booth operators. And we had many people applying for the job to be a toll booth operator. That position in New York State is extinct, right? It was replaced by technology now. So, if anybody ever subway here, right? So most times we used to have a lot of ticket agents in the subways, right? Now we have more kiosks than that. So technology is changing things rapidly. It's always been changing tasks and jobs. What should our relationship be? And I find that sometimes, in where I sit, my members, my other colleagues have a protectionist view and have a reactionary view towards technology. And it's important for us to be able to control these technologies and not let them control us.
So what's the government's role then as it relates to finding a balance? Because a lot of what you highlighted as it relates to technology impacting our infrastructure from tolls to subways also unlocked new job creation and new job growth. So is your role to protect the citizenry and your constituency, or is it to unlock innovation, entrepreneurship, and to attract investment?
So Mark, the answer in part is in your question. Government's role is to find that balance. Yes, doomsday stuff is real. It's potential. Right? When we talk about generative AI, so this technology is technology that augments or replaces human decision making. fact. So that we have to be careful when it comes to creating technologies that step in the place of humans making decisions. When I walked into this building, I went through I saw security roles. I walked through and I got to the elevator, and there was artificial intelligence there that there was a centralized pad, and I pressed my floor number, and it tells me where to go. That artificial intelligence makes coming up here much more efficient. I'm sure that probably in the past, without that system in place, there could have been jams of folks trying to get up here or what have you. So that system is able to take this place of decision making for people. We've seen that in New York State with banks using systems to make decisions on whether or not certain people are getting mortgages. We've seen, in New York State, we have put a halt on full self-driving cars. So you can go to other states and you can have full self-driving systems, but now in New York State, even if you have a car with a actually you cannot have a car that has the full self-driving package in New York. It'll be not active in New York State for a number of different reasons. We're trying to make sure we test this out. But do you know that self-driving cars now are less likely to pick me up walking down the street than you? They're less likely to pick up a child. But on the other side of the coin, I've been using aspects of self-driving for over 20 years, right? It helps make my life easier by being able to use cruise control. So we have to make sure that we find, what's that balance, Mark? We have to make sure we find that balance. We have to make sure that when others make decisions, right, that can impact people, that's something that's very important for us to government to make sure that you mentioned certain really important principles that have to be in place. Transparency is very important. How does this algorithm come to its decision making? Right? Who is responsible? How do we make sure that, you also said, you talked about garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. We want to make sure that diverse communities participate in the building, in the structuring, in the formation, in the information provided to artificial intelligence systems.
So just going back to the self-driving automobile piece as it relates to New York State, I didn't realize that it was restricted here. I'm curious as to why, and then I'm also curious as to, I see friends in the tech sector in California, they're all over Tesla right now with its driving capabilities. I'm sure everybody here is watching the same videos that I am. So does that put New York State at a disadvantage in some way?
Do you want to know what really happened?
Yeah, just break it out for us.
So back in 2017 or 2018, cities like San Francisco, Austin, I forget another city, I can't remember where, another city in Texas, it wasn't Dallas. But anyway, rolled out testing of self-driving in a city in Arizona. And then also certain rideshare programs had limited self-driving test program. And there was a number of fatalities. There was a bicyclist in San Francisco, and then in Austin, 2 people were in a self-driving rideshare vehicle, and they didn't survive. So we're concerned about that. We were also concerned about biases in the algorithm, for some of the algorithms to detect folks or people. Or even now when I'm driving by, I have a electric vehicle. Even now, sometimes when I pass the restaurants with the outdoor cafe things, my car will misinterpret that for a truck. So anyway, these systems are getting better and better and better, but we're not confident enough in a place like New York City or New York State to have full self-driving. You do have level 2 or level 3 capabilities. So level 1 is, your regular cruise control. Higher level is, we do have a higher level, at least level 2 in New York State. Now, I'm not sure of the whole level, but right now we do have, you have cruise control, but on the highway, your car will slow down. It'll slow down if it has traffic in front of it. But we didn't add, so you'll have cruise control and you'll have speed control with traffic in front of you. But it will not allow lane assist at the same time.
So when do you think New York State will allow for?
I don't know, we're going through that process. We're going through that iterative process. We have to make sure also that the sensors, so there's a lot of things in place that have to be in place. We have to make sure that we have the proper sensors along the highways. We have to make sure that connectivity is a big issue. So we have to make sure that connectivity is, connectivity is a big issue up and down the roadways and highways and all the sensors are in place. So it's a work in progress, we're working on it, but we're not trying to be the first. Right, so we're trying to make sure that people are safe.
So let's shift gears for a minute, no pun intended. Let's talk about your infamous bill, bill number 6896, or is it A6896?
A. I don't remember all the numbers, but probably when it's in the assembly, it starts with an A, or Senate starts with an S, but
okay.
Yeah.
So it required landlords to provide tenants with copies of their lease agreement twice a year upon request. I want to talk a little bit about, this was just so the room understands, like Mr. Vanel is the first policymaker, the first lawmaker that I know of, I believe that this is true, the first person on the planet to use artificial intelligence to draft a bill. I really believe that, certainly in New York State. So what was your motivation behind using artificial intelligence to draft this bill?
So my motivation is the motivation, I think, of this conference, right? To make sure that you guys understand how to wrestle with these technologies, right? Whether you're in your careers now, or whether you're going to be in your careers now. How to wrestle with this in your job, in what you do. And the conversation, there's so many conversations around AI and technology. We can have a whole conference on its effect or its potential effect on workforce. But in light of that, I was wondering, we were concerned about self-driving and people with careers in driving, what that would do to them. But I wondered, can these technologies replace me as a lawmaker? Can they write laws? Can they write bills? And if they can, what would I do with that? So that was my exercise. So since the public use and availability of these generative AI processes were available, in fact, we used that to be able to say, ask that question. Can they actually write a bill? Can they research a bill? How good is it? And if you can, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my job? And how should I move forward?
So, with regards to the question of whether or not, I believe you used GPT, right?
Yes.
So with regards to the question of whether or not it was capable of writing a bill, would artificial intelligence today be capable of writing an effective bill without your knowledge, expertise, and ability to prompt it the right way?
What the exercise taught me, and I'm going to continue to use these technologies in the future, is human-machine interaction. Right? How do I use technology to augment what I'm doing? So it's important to make sure that we use to enhance, not be afraid of it, not hide in the kitchen. So part of the reason why I use it also, Mark, was because I was getting a lot of communications and contact from the academia about, different schools, and I don't know how the institution feels about it, but different institutions have different relationships with the generative AI programs. And, there's a conversation of it changing what authorship means, conversation about what's ownership, what's copyright, what's yours, how do you state these things. So I thought it was important for me to be able to wrestle with this and figure that out too. So even in the bill, in the justification section, in the memo section, I cite AutoGPT as being a co-author of the bill. So it's really important for us to be able to ensure that, to wrestle with these technologies, to be able to use them, to be able to control them, right? To be able to, and I wonder if we were having this conversation about word processors, autocorrect, right? I wonder if we were having those same kinds of conversations. And I think that it can, it's good to have these conversations, to have the right questions so we can get at the right solutions.
If you had not used artificial intelligence to draft this bill, how long would it have taken you to complete the process?
Well, what happened is, again, so here's what's fascinating. So what's fascinating is that I was testing not only, so there are different levels of AI too, right? And what is the definition of AI? Right, so there's, as I said, that there's different levels of self-driving, there's different levels of AI. So, hold on.
Siri, hey Siri, what time is it?
It's 10:10.
Okay. So that's real basic, right? So Siri's able to tell me what time it is, right? That's one level of AI. And that's been around for, we're used to that type of AI, right? We're used to be able to specific task kinds of AI. We're used to that kind of thing. What's interesting is the deeper level of AI is this generative AI is not it's machine learning, but it's not deep learning, it's not human being, but it's more advanced than the first basic level of AI. What I wanted to test was how far can I go with generative AI. So when I asked the program to write a bill, I didn't give it specific directions. I asked it at the time. I asked it, what was interesting was I asked it, find a gap in the law in New York State and write a bill to address that gap. What was interesting, Mark, was that it was able to find out, keep in mind, this wasn't an earth-shattering bill. But what was interesting was it was able to find a gap that's not even written explicitly in law. There weren't articles that said people complaining about it. So it was able to compare the laws of New York State and say, hey, this is what I found, we should do a bill that says that.
Did it find multiple gaps in the law? Did it present a couple of different issues to you?
So it took about an hour and a half to do so, and I don't remember if it found multiple, I'm not sure if it found multiple. We had to prompt it a number of different times for it to find, for it to properly go in a certain direction. But, the fact that it was able to find this not explicit gap was something that amazing.
Did you go back and check to make sure?
Yes, of course, yeah, of course we did. Yeah.
So
and it would be a bill if we didn't. Right.
So how long did the entire process take you with GPT versus if you had not used the technology?
So, that's an interesting question. So I guess I would have to, so the process of coming up with the idea, and so we have a staff of folks that would have to write the bill, we have indexing, we have bill drafting. It depends. It'll depend. I don't know.
Typically, ballpark.
Okay.
And then this took a couple hours?
A few hours. But again, we had to we still have to go through the process to make sure we still have to put it through the process.
So to me, that's like a remarkable situation because it's giving you the ability to augment your skill set,
100%.
expedite the process, and then allocate an entire day that you would have lost had you been writing towards your constituency to other issues that are of concern.
Now, I'm not saying that I want to replace everybody that works at bill drafting, right? We're still going to need the folks at bill drafting. But what's interesting is that how can they use this, right? How can they use this also to help them work on higher level things or work on more bills or what have you? So again, we're at a point where we should be exploring, tinkering, and figuring this stuff out.
So it's funny because in looking at the reaction, you had, it seemed like everybody was upset with you. In the media, the landlords were mad at you, the tenants were mad at you, the media, I think your colleagues in New York State at the assembly level were mad at you. Did anybody even support you on this? Am I right? Is that
I don't want to comment on that, but what I do want to say is that we cannot be afraid of technology, right? We have to wrestle with these things. They're not going anywhere, right? So it's important for us to be able to break in, figure it out, wrestle with it. Mark, I might make a mistake, and the bills may not be perfect. I'm not sure, but if I don't wrestle with it, that's not a good thing. And then if I treat it like Frankenstein and hide it, then that's not a good thing for policy. It's not a good thing for America. It's not a good thing for New York. I want New York State to lead in the technology discussion. I want New York State to be and I want the companies and the technology to be born out of New York State. And not New York State, I want it to happen out of America. So we have to make sure that we have to be able to lead and find that proper balance. But I'll be a better policymaker if I use these technologies than opposite. If you've seen, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention of the technology hearings in Congress or before the Senate, the Zuckerberg hearings or what have you, see, some of the embarrassing questions that the people that are supposed to make our rules are asking, like what is, I don't know, repeat it, but so it's really important for us to try to understand the best we can going into these decisions.
So you're implying that the lawmakers might not be fully aware of all of the benefits that technology can bring to government?
To society, right? Not just government, right? But to government definitely, but to society, right? So it's important that it's important that you guys try to understand these technologies. But for the people that are making the rules, it's really important that they understand, the benefits and the harms.
But that's understandable. Like, I don't think that's a knock on your colleagues. I think it takes time to learn and then adapt and apply the new technology. Like, in your mind, do you think there will be mass application of artificial intelligence in the lawmaking process at some point? And if so, when will we reach that tipping point?
I don't know what's happening. It's happening very slow. I don't know when that will happen, but I know that we have to, my perspective is to do it intentionally, try to wrestle with it and figure it out, not let it happen to us.
So in all likelihood, there are probably some people here that are from Queens and maybe even your constituents. So I'm curious, beyond just drafting a bill, how do you see our society benefiting from the use of AI in their daily lives? Maybe starting even at the academic level, but then going beyond that into healthcare or other areas of their life.
I think it's really important and I've been fighting to make sure that, again, not only with AI, but just generally with technologies, that people, that communities learn about it, participate in it, grow in it, build it. I think it's really important that there are many societal issues that we're trying to deal with. We're trying to deal with closing the economic divide, close the digital divide. and dealing with many inequities in society. And I think technologies provide a path to be able to try to address some of these. I also believe that technologies and what's happening with the economies of the future can help build wealth more efficiently, better, and faster. But if we don't address it early and fast, it can also expand the wealth gap. So I think it's really important for women and minorities and people of color, folks that have been traditionally out of the conversation of the economic marketplace to be able to control and work and figure this stuff out. I think it's really important to be able to, for countries that are developing, to be able to use these technologies to be able to advance and to reduce global poverty. But I think that in order to do so, we have to do this intentionally and to be able to try to work on this.
Are there any cities or regions in the world that you could point to that you see, it might be ahead of us here in New York State or in New York City, but you see as a guiding light, as an inspiration as to how we can leverage these new technologies to our benefit?
Of course, so keep in mind, again, I don't think I think New York is the Empire State. I think New York is a leader in a lot of different areas, but I also think that New York can learn from a lot of different places too. So I don't think we should, and I don't think New York should run first, be first. I think New York should be best. So we look at other cities and other states for around the world for inspiration about how their uses of technologies and their uses of what they're doing or what have you, and so we can figure out how to adopt or not. We've also seen the misapplication of certain technologies too, and misapplication of certain things in other places. So in my position, I always try to learn from it doesn't matter the size of the country or city or state. Sometimes we can learn from certain things, and when a state is smaller or more nimble, they can test things out better or easier than we can, and we can see certain things also. So I oftentimes look at transportation models in other cities and the deployment of cameras, the deployment of sensors, the deployment of other kinds of things, deployments of right now, one of our major policymakers, political leaders, is considering wrestling the use of drones in New York City, which would be tough. But these are so we look at constantly looking at different technologies, different uses, but we have to also counterbalance, making sure privacy is an issue, making sure that we are not misusing technologies or what have you, because there's also that kind of misuse that we're also concerned about also.
So a few times during our conversation, you referenced inequalities, closing the financial gap between classes and biases. And I'm curious, from your perspective, I guess from an ethical perspective, what is it that we should be concerned of collectively? Like, how can we work together? It's great that you're sitting at the top up in Albany for all of us, but what can we do at the grassroots level at this point in time to make sure that we don't run into these inequalities?
So what was interesting was New York City passed a law a couple of years ago to have a algorithm auditing process, algorithm auditing system process baked into their decision making or what have you, and the community can participate in that process. I don't remember what's happening with that, but as these artificial intelligence algorithms and systems are coming and building more and more, we're having these conversations, we're trying to figure this stuff out. So
It's really early.
It's very early. We want to make sure that community are in this space, in this process. I just recently learned about the biasness of these self-driving cars not being able to pick to detect me, compared to a white person. I just found that out. So we're still figuring this out. The White House, is that, anybody ever hear of that house? There's a hacking program happening in Vegas now. And the White House is participating in that, trying to figure out, part of the process is trying to work on these large language models to break them. And what happens is, so, for example, the GPT programs, right? Some of them, some of them may have racist outcomes with certain types of inputs. Right? Somebody asked, the GPT program, okay, I'm a white student and I want to go to an HBC, to a historically black college or university. What should I do when I apply? And I think it spit it out. The result was, dance well and run fast. And that was, right, that's happening like very recently. So how do we figure out, how do we deal with that stuff? So what's really important is that, and part of the issue is GPT racist? No, it's just an algorithm.
Garbage in, garbage out.
What's really important is who participates in the process of providing data. Where's the data coming from? So I want to show an example. And you asked me about, are we learning from other places, learning from other cities? A few years ago, I went to China. That was, I forget the name of the city. I went to like 10 cities.
Yeah.
Every city bigger, more populous than New York. But anyway, so one of the cities, they were showing us how they deploy services, right? Without ID or what have you. They use facial recognition and they know, okay, this person needs their metro card. Yeah. This person gets blah, 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 whatever it is. So we were, and it was a delegation of I don't know how many of us, and one of us went and tried to go in front of the facial recognition scanner, face scanner thing, and it was an African American male, and it didn't detect him as a person. Remember, this wasn't a big city. I mean, it was a big city, popular city, but it wasn't a city where a lot of tourists go.
It wasn't Shanghai.
It wasn't Shanghai. It wasn't, it wasn't Beijing. It wasn't, it wasn't even Shenzhen. It was. I can't remember the name of it.
Sure.
I don't want to dish China, but I'm saying I don't remember the name of the small city. And in America, I also did small cities too, so I did small city in China. So, but again, I can't remember the name of the city. But anyway, but it only saw the data that it sees in its small town. So really important for diverse folks to be able to work on these issues. Really important for women to work on these issues. There was also an AI that is able to detect, it's supposed to be able to, for telehealth, it's supposed to be able to help detect certain types of diseases or what have you. It did really well for male-related diseases, but not women-related diseases. So, right, because the people that were putting in the data were men. So that's so we got that's really important for us to be able to.
So I'm curious. So going on back to the China situation. So it's widely understood that China is training its artificial intelligence to take on some of its political philosophy as a communist nation. And of course, the amount of input that China has into artificial intelligence dwarfs any place else on the planet because of their population. So I'm curious, ultimately, from a policymaker, a lawmaker's perspective, should that be a concern of our nations? Should we be concerned that the war to control the artificial intelligence will ultimately be won by China, and their messaging that you're talking about, beyond just bias or gender inequality, but also with regards to political philosophy, will that ultimately beat everybody on the planet too?
No, what's really important part of AI is being morality, right? Baking into the process is ethics and morality, right? So when we talk about human decision making and again, I don't want to talk about political positions or what have you, but very important for there to be a certain level of certain code of morality in the process. Part of what I've been doing now that I'm taking such a deep dive into AI, keep in mind, I'm not an expert. I don't, I'm not a computer science, major or what have you. But part of the process too is I've been reading more sci-fi. I've been reading to see what the future may look like in other folks' lives and what they say. But morality, ethics is something that is really important for us to make sure that we have baked into these systems, baked into these algorithms, baked into this decision making. And what's really important is that I also think that in the position where I am to be able to influence policy, I want to make sure that I trust America more to make the right policy decisions. And if we do that, we can help influence the world's policy decisions.
So this room, in all likelihood, will be our future Elon Musk's, our future Assemblyman Vanel's, our future leaders. So if we could bring it back to this room from an educational perspective, how would you suggest they use artificial intelligence at this point in their lives so that they can at some point be sitting in your chair?
Wrestle with it, use it, break it, figure it out, right? Use these different systems. Try to, if you're writing stuff, if you have a business, right? Use technology, whether it's just not just AI, use technology, right? Use today's technology to make your business easier, better, right? See how it can help augment what you're doing. One thing that we didn't talk enough about is that, again, it's about the interaction between us and these technologies, right? Can they help make us more efficient? Right? Technology has been used since the beginning of time to make our lives easier. That's why we use it, for convenience, or what have you. And this is no exception. And yes, this is different, a little bit different, but this should be even because we're talking about, augmenting more human decision making, which means that you should be more focused on trying to see how you can use this, how you can help build, shape, and augment what you're already doing.
So before we let you go, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Hi there, thank you so much for this panel. It's been so fascinating. I have a million questions, but I'll boil it down to one. What policies are you considering? You're talking about baking in equity into algorithms and AI, part of that 100%. What about climate change and how are you working to build that into the algorithms and AI going forward, or at least climate neutrality at the very best climate promotion?
That's a great point. So one thing that, again, we're at the very beginning of trying to figure out these policies for these technologies. This year, we passed a bill in both houses, in the Assembly and the Senate, called the Artificial Intelligence, Automation, and Robotics Task Force to help create a task force of experts and of stakeholders to be able to provide the guardrails for us when we come moving forward. It's very important to have guardrails not only for climate. We have so many issues that we're dealing with on the government. Right? We deal with everything, right? But it always seems that we're dealing with emergency. We're oftentimes emergency mode, but we're dealing with everything. So we have this task force to be able to help figure out how to make this stuff in the decision-making processes. The governor has up until December 31st to sign that into law. And what we're asking, what we have is the task force will be a group of folks that includes industry, academics, relevant organizations, and community members to be able to help give us the report to help figure out how to do what we're proposing to do.
Right. Anybody else have a question? Please.
but compared to the cities that are actually driving buses, self-driving system, I think Manhattan is ready to profit, and the road system is completely different. And I wonder if those self-driving technology is applicable to a city like Manhattan. And I wanted to hear about your opinion, how you see this difference and how you approach this.
So we're nowhere close to having self-driving in Manhattan. So what I was talking about is capabilities on our interstates, on our highways. City like Manhattan, for us to, and we're not even anywhere close to having it, on the highways in New York State. So again, a lot of my policymakers are not excited about the possibility of having self-driving in New York State. I believe that it's my opinion, that we should be able to try on the interstates first, on the, on I-87 or I-95, where it's, open driving, and we actually have, for example, in New York, on the interstates, depending on the type of program that you have on your car, you can have limited lane assist, right, so you can control, and then the cruise control that can be able to slow down when there's a car in front of you, or what have you. Or that also, but many people already have certain of these aspects, but not all together. But in New York City, in Manhattan in particular, I don't see, I can't guess when it's gonna happen, but I don't think it's in the near future.
I think it's worth noting, just as a follow-up, there's been a shift with regards to how artificial intelligence is being trained, specifically relating to vehicle driving. So it's moving from sensors to cameras right now. And that's going to create a different level of training for these autonomous vehicles. It's going to happen quicker, it's going to happen at a more efficient rate, and we're going to, I think, get to where the ultimate goal is much quicker as a result of us. I mean, can you imagine that? So the AI is being trained now by video, by capturing video. So each car has cameras, like a Tesla, I think, has 8 cameras around it, and rather than the sensors finding where there might be a tree or a car or something else, they're learning from cameras now, videos, on what to avoid and where to go. So I think the training process is going to be optimized in an exponential way. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but I would encourage you to do a deep dive on it. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And then think about all the industries that are impacted by that as it relates to data storage, computing, and beyond. And it's all there. They figured out a way with regards to how to train the AI through the use of video in a way where we don't need as much computing as we did a year ago. So it's really fascinating. Liz?
I was wondering what the state was doing to attract and support tech entrepreneurs here that might be attracted to go to Miami or Abu Dhabi, etc.
So there's been different efforts to be able to make sure that we have a robust tech industry in New York State. We've had, but not everyone is on the same page. In New York City, in my beloved Queens, we lost a major employer a few years ago when Amazon wanted to build a second headquarters in Queens, and I think we did the wrong policy decision at the time.
I agree.
Yeah. So it's really important. We want to make sure that. So we've been doing different kinds of efforts on the city level and on the state level to be able to attract and to retain and to keep not only our companies here, but our talent here. We have a lot of talent here in New York City and New York State. And that's something that we've been pushing, and there's ongoing efforts to make sure that we want people to know that we want you to stay, We want you to build your companies here, and we want you to grow here in your city and in your state.
And I think you have a question?
Liz asked a question.
You have a question last time? Yeah.
Please.
Oh, sorry, just in line with that too, that's also sort of asked a question that, go into. But how do you make it more equitable with the government and also private partnerships with AI and other technology, especially those that are becoming that forefront? I mean, for example, office here, we go to the US, relation, get that on certain population that may not be aware of the implications of AI and technology, especially phones, technology, and whatever else. All of those have been talking about.
So yeah, the question is how do we make sure we make it more equitable, and how do we make sure we get communities that have not participated to be able to participate? First of all, ask the question. We have to make sure that that question is being asked, and it has to be done intentionally. When it comes to technology, when it comes to a number of different issues, right? How do we make sure we get people to be able to participate that haven't participated? We have to go and ask the question, we have to put resources in order to go and get folks to be able to participate. We have to be able to make sure that we have issues when it comes to, there's so many different, I think there's so many different instances and so many different areas in New York City and New York State when it comes to economics, where we have to make sure that, okay, what about this group? What about that? So that's the question that we always have to make sure that we ask, that we care about, and that's not something that is that any one part has an monopoly on. So that's something that we always have to continuously do. I've been fighting to make sure that when it comes to jobs, I've had tech job fairs in communities that that were traditionally didn't have that kind of stuff. I also have to make sure that not only we get people trained also in these technology spaces, in these different areas. And again, it's not just minorities, also make sure that, that women also participate. So it's something that, that is it's top of mind, that's part of what we do, and it's something that's also baked in what we're trying to do.
That's a great question. Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. So considering the misapplication and misuse of technology, going back to the misapplication and misuse of technology, and having drafted a bill using GPT, what is your take on the attorney who cited 6 fake cases to write court filings? I'm curious.
So, so we have I have a bill that was recently introduced that states that if you have any political advertisements or what have you where you use AI, you have to cite it. You have to make sure that you cite it properly. And saying, okay, this was partly just an idea of my bill. This was, co-authored by whatever algorithm, whatever you use. The questions you're asking, it's really important to make sure that, that things are properly cited. Things are properly, give proper attestation to something, right? Things that someone used, if someone's using something and it's lies, fake, how do we make sure we identify deepfakes? In politics, and I'm in politics, in 2024, the election's coming up. I mean, the big, federal election coming up. And now folks I can take anybody's face here, or your whole body, and put you on a video and make you do almost anything, same thing. By capturing your voice and your image. So what do we do with, that was a fake site for laws, right?
Well, I believe he cited cases that did not exist. So he used ChatGPT to write this court filings argument, and he didn't verify the source. And it so happened that the cases that were cited, so they were cited, but they were not.
They didn't say what he said. They were not no cases. So we have an issue with fakes, right? But we have our real big issue is, and keep in mind, if you were in the court, I heard from judges before, clerks are there, and the clerk is supposed to check all the sites, they're going to catch that. But deepfakes, what do we do about deepfakes? Right? What do we do about folks that, what's going to happen in a couple months when, the opponents in politics have someone drunk and saying something dumb, and it was like a real video, and that's an ad. What do we do about it? What do we do about, that revision? What do we do? So we also have bills that have to address deepfakes, and these technologies allow, that's something that we have to ensure we work on. These technologies allow for, for fake content to be posed as real.
There's going to be I know that we're going a little bit on a tangent here based on your question, but there's going to be a full transformative implication as a result of deepfakes, specifically in the financial sector. You can imagine now with the advent of artificial intelligence being able to easily replicate one's voice and one's likeness, the types of deception that will occur with your bank accounts, with individuals preying on maybe the older generations. So we're going to have to institute new levels of security beyond just lawmaking and in the court system. It's going to be very interesting to see. It's interesting. I didn't mention Mr. Vanel is an attorney in my background also. I'm an attorney as well. And it's going to be very interesting to see the legal implications surrounding all of these new technologies, including just last week or 2 weeks ago, there was an amazing copyright case where the lawyers, in my opinion, argued incorrectly, and as a result, the creator lost the case. And rather than positioning artificial intelligence as a tool to augment the creator, similar to what you've been talking about today, similar to what creators have done with photography in the past, the lawyers failed to do that, and the creator wasn't able to copyright the original content. And I know your background is intellectual property, so we're going to see a lot of, I think we're going to see a lot of these types of issues brought up to the Supreme Court, in an accelerated way in the next 12, 18, 24 months. It's going to be a very interesting time on a lot of different levels because of this technology.
Anyone else? Please.
Thanks for your conversation. It's very informative. And my question is about that policymakers, we usually think policymakers have a conservative perspective on AI or technology. So how can we encourage the policymaker like you to embrace the technology and to decrease the conflict between the policy and the technology so that people like us can enjoy the technology maybe quicker or smoothly?
Great question, and it's really important. So, on a whole, the policymakers are generally, yes, they're generally more conservative, right? It's really important for you for your policymakers to hear from you and to say what's important, right? Find out who your assembly member is, find out who your senator is, and ask them what their positions are with respect to these technologies. Ask them, what their positions are with respect to what's happening and what you're concerned about. Because if they don't hear from you, then it won't be important. It's really, and I think that we're at a precipice now where again, you're starting your career, you're building your careers, you're rebuilding your careers in the new space where these technologies are new, burgeoning. So you're at a great time. I think you're in a great time to be, at this point. And we want to make sure that New York is a place that helps you build in the environment.
You just want to get in those cars, right? Anna?
Just as we have legislation, the Europeans most recently passed another set of laws around controls and privacy protection, etc. In the United States, we have such a fragmented system of laws and regulations. Like New York City could be standing alone and requiring those algorithmic controls, whereas across the bridge in New Jersey there'll be a different set of laws. But these technologies just don't sit in silence, right? So how are we thinking from a New York perspective? Yes, we want to be from the lens of regulating what shouldn't be there, but at the same time, within the United States as a whole, it seems like a lost battle.
So that's the basic question about federalism in Europe, right? Federalism, right? So our states have a sovereign over certain things, but we live in a country, and then we live in the world, right? So, and the internet don't care where you at, right? So part of the process of what I'm doing laws and bills is that I actually work with my federal partners to see what they're doing. Because I'm near a state, I'm more nimble, even though it takes a long time, I think, but I'm more nimble than Congress is. And if New York does certain kinds of things, other states watch. California does certain things, other states watch. So I'm very important. I don't move fast. I don't want to be first. I need to be, but I have to be diligent because what we do in New York can help affect what's happening in the country. So we look at that too. So I can't. So when we do laws that have to deal with technology, we want to make sure that it doesn't impede progress. It doesn't impede what's happening across the country, and that the federal government can use that, and that it makes sense. With respect to the European data privacy law, GDPR, that was implemented in, maybe 2018, and we're still working through it now. California rushed to have something called a similar law. I don't think that's the route that we should have taken. So New York State had not adopted it. Other states have taken different policies. We're still trying to work our way through it. That's the big conversation in Albany about privacy. I have a perspective, I have other members that have a certain perspective, what have you. I think the Congress is looking at it, they're really slow on what they're doing, what have you, so we're having an active conversation in this process.
There's an interesting counterintuitive thing happening as well as it relates to these massive companies like OpenAI and Microsoft and beyond, who are literally going to Congress and asking to be regulated versus really finding protection for consumers, for example. So one camp is arguing that when Elon Musk goes to Congress and asks to be regulated, what he's really looking to do is create a commercial moat so that he can monopolize this AI vertical and thwart off innovative entrepreneurs, venture capital, etc., because they won't be able to catch up based upon all of the federal regulations and laws. So there's an interesting dynamic happening as it relates to corporate business, corporate innovation versus big companies that are already leaders in the space as it relates to regulation at the federal level.
No, so what's really important is that, again, so far as technology and AI in particular, we have to have precise regulation, right? We have to have, meaning that we shouldn't regulate the technology as a whole. We should regulate it should be risk-based, it should be, it should be content-based, context-based, and then, liability should lie on, the party that's closest to the risk. And that can change during the AI life cycle. But doing this stuff is hard. It's difficult, right? So, for example, if I say, if you have an AI company or a company that engages a lot in AI, I don't know what a lot means, so we'll determine what that is, right? But if you have a company that's mostly based on its algorithm, mostly based on AI, not just uses it in addition to what you do, right? So if you if you're a true AI company, if I give a regulation that says you have to have a chief ethics AI officer, right? That's already that has to be separate than the CEO, right? And then all that person takes care of his ethics. then that's already, you can't have a sole proprietorship. I mean, you must have at least a two-person company, right? Is that overburdensome for a one-person shop? I have to think about these times. We have to think about these kinds of things. You know, we gotta carve out so what have you, but coming up with fair policies, especially in a dynamic space like this, is difficult. It's not easy.
And then the technology is unleashed too, right? So can the government harness the technology? Maybe not. It's interesting if you look at Web3, specifically as it relates to whether or not certain cryptocurrency exchanges and platforms are securities. Now what's happening is because of regulation, for example, if you want to create a marketplace that's trading cryptocurrency, you need to file with every single state as well as predictably the federal level too. How can an entrepreneur afford to pay that? So it becomes burdensome, and we might see similar things happen with artificial intelligence where young companies or innovative companies have the obligation then to file on a state-by-state basis. Can you imagine the amount of money that would go into and work and time consumption for all 50 states to regulate AI?
So part of what I said about having precision regulations is that, you know, so we should be able to have, you know, something for companies on different levels, right? And we want to be able to have a bespoke kind of process, right? And for example, I'm working on building out for high-risk AI. So there are, you know, we're dealing with stuff that is, you know, that has a high risk and has some certain kind of dangerous implications to the folks, then, you know, then the regulations or the processes can be more onerous. But again, it's still early. We still have to think this through, but it's not easy for us to traverse. And part of the process too is read my bill, see what I'm doing, let me know what you think, participate. You know, right? So the community, right? If it's just a bill, it's just a bill. It's still in the process. So you as New Yorkers have a right to say and give your opinion and to come and, I'm a public official. That means public. That means you guys have access to me. That means, yes, I have a district, but I'm a New York State Assemblyman. So I represent you guys too. And if I pass on the law, the fair's called you. So you have the right to participate and tell me, hey, Clyde, this is wrong, we should do this, or blah, blah, blah. So you should also be engaged in this process.
So why don't we take one more question and then let the Assemblyman get back to his day, please.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm thinking all the kids who are headed back to the classroom in New York City, it's one of the largest and I think most important public school systems in the country. Does the Board of Ed have a seat on the task force that you mentioned earlier? And you know, do you have any insights into how the classroom experience might be changing soon for our kids in school?
So great question. So the Board of Education does not have a seat on the task force, but academia does. So someone from the state, not New York City, but someone from the state who oversees also the city will participate on task force. Yeah, it's just a bill now, assuming the government signs it. So we just got to make sure the government signs it. As far as the role of these technologies in classrooms, do you believe that different schools and different institutions are torn on whether students can use GPT? And if they can, how to cite them? So I have schools or professors straight up ban. I have that. I've had the other extreme of being able to use it and cite it or what have you. So this is something that our community is going to have to try to help work with our institutions to be able to figure it out. But I find that diverse approach towards these technologies with my colleges and institutions also. So we have to try to figure out if the state is going to come up with guidance, if the education department will come up with guidance for educators. So if you hear me speaking, I don't think we should go in one of the directions that some people have taken, some educators and some institutions have taken.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Very appreciate it.
Everything that I said is my own opinion, it's not the opinion of the states. So that's what I'm going to tell you right now, right? Because